So what you have here is a contract that was given to Ephraim and Manasseh.
Hold on. Let's go back to Abraham, brother. All right, what did God say to Abraham? Your descendants are going to number, what? The stars of the sky, the sands of the sea. In other words, you're not going to be able to count them, right? You're not going to be able to count them. And that in your loin, meaning in your sperm sac, resides through your genealogy kings and nations. And Thomas Paine in the 1700s said, well, I can't prove, the Abrahamic covenant, but you got to understand, people, that archaeology didn't start till the 1850s, and now we live in the information society, and we can prove today Abrahamic covenant and the promises of God and where those nations are that came out of that genealogy and said, God said through the Abrahamic covenant, I'm going to bless the world. And through that lineage, of course, comes Jesus Christo. Now, go on with the Ephraim and Manasseh story that everybody needs to know, but nobody knows.
What he basically did was Ephraim and Manasseh were to receive the greatest blessing and the greatest promise.
Now, who are Ephraim and Manasseh again?
Two sons of Jacob.
Okay.
But they were the sons of Joseph, Joseph was the ruler of Egypt for a time there. Remember when everyone hears about the children of Israel?
That's right.
All right, we're going to get you straight, but we know you got it. You're just a little bit nervous.
No, I got it. I'm a little bit nervous, and I haven't spoken about it in a long time, so I'm a little...
We're putting him on the spot. Now,
yes.
Roll, brother. We know you got it. We'll keep you straight.
So Joseph was the one to receive the greatest blessings. I don't know if you've ever seen the play Joseph and the Amazing...
I saw it about a month ago at my sister's church. It was great.
The Amazing... Production. Yeah, so it speaks of Joseph and how Joseph was ultimately the one who leads the children of Israel into Egypt. It's Moses who leads them out of Egypt. But what you have is Joseph who receives the greatest blessing, and what he does is he shares it with his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who Ephraim and Manasseh ultimately become what we know today to be the United States and Britain. Britain being Ephraim and Manasseh being the United States.
And what does Manasseh mean? Forgetful. Because these names are all character descriptions. A lot of the Old Testament names are character descriptions rather than names. This you need to know. Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're a reflection of what they actually mean, and that's where we are today. What have we forgotten? Our heraldry, our roots, where we
heraldry.
come from.
Whoa. Okay, Doc. You got to roll with it, brother. You got to get it out, brother. We know you got it.
So what you have is Ephraim and Manasseh receiving the greatest blessing.
To become what? A commonwealth of nations and a great nation, right?
To become a commonwealth and a great nation. Manasseh being the great nation and Britain being the commonwealth of the nations. And what you have here is because of the fact that Israel becomes scattered because they fall into sin.
That's right, folks. I mean, what were all those old-time prophets doing, right? The old-time prophets were saying, hey, man, get back to the law, because your ancestors said the law was perfect. So if the law is perfect and they accepted it, but now you're falling away as the generations went, the old-time prophets came out and said, get back, otherwise you're going to get 7 times the times cursed. Now tell them about that 7 times the curse. Nobody knows about this stuff.
Well,
it took me 35 years to find this out, and I'm mad. All these people preaching Christianity never told me. And then when I wanted to get books to order to give to all my friends, I'm like, you're not going to believe what I just found out. Oh my God, you don't know.
Nobody wants to know.
And I called up this Christian bookstore, and I said, I'd like these books by Raymond E. Capt on the Abrahamic covenant. They're like, oh, we don't sell secular books here. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I tell you, man, a lot of these Christians ain't got a clue.
So what you have is a promise to Abraham as to what would happen with ultimately his descendants. And then you have a promise that you have the law that was told that if they weren't to obey the law, they would fall into a curse. Well, ultimately, because they're not obedient to God, they fall into this curse, and they're given 7 times the time to be scattered and lose their identity, which 7 times a time being 360 years, equals
2,520 years.
2,520. Very good.
Yes,
I'm glad
sir.
you caught me on that one.
All right.
And so what they would what would happen to the children of Israel is they'd lose their identity. Ultimately, to refine themselves 2,520 years from the date that they're scattered.
And let's not forget, when Jesus told his disciples to go, he said, what? Don't go to Samaria, because Samaria, first of all, was the capital of old-time Israel, and when the Babylonians came and took them into captivity, they gutted the country of all the people. But he told them to go to the, what? Lost sheep
of Israel.
Of the houses of Israel. He chose his disciples. How many disciples? 12, right? And one from each
12 tribes of Israel.
And he chose one from each tribe, telling them to go out and reunite the gospel to them. The good news. So,
to the Gentiles. Right.
Well, Paul was to the Gentiles, but anyway.
Well, the Gentiles is a big chunk of the world, you know.
I'm not going to dispute that. But doctor, the point is 2,520 years, all right?
From the date that Ephraim was scattered, you see Britain becoming a commonwealth of nations.
Let me stop you right there, okay? Let's go back in chronological order. All right, think about it. The Assyrians and the Babylonians, you know, basically took Israel into captivity, all right? And it wasn't like they took them all at one time. They had to take some of them here. 745 BC is the first time when the Assyrians, all right, they took Manasseh, which was the first tribe to be carried off into captivity. 745 BC. You add 2,520 years to that. Now remember, Manasseh was grafted into the promise. They were like the 13th tribe, all right? So 2,520 years from 745 BC comes out to what? 1776, where you got 13 colonies. You got 13 stars, 13 stripes. You look on the back of the dollar bill and you're going to see a pyramid. And that pyramid's got 13 tiers on it. And you're going to see an eagle in both of its talons. It's got 13 arrows over here and 13, it's got an olive branch with 13 berries on it. And above the eagle, there's 13 stars. Ananoa Coeptus got 13 letters, one out of many. And E pluribus unum, 13 letters. Our United States heraldry, if you've not heard what heraldry is, it's a symbolic inheritance for us all. But you know what? Nobody cares. And you know, a lot of people will tell you, oh, all that stuff has to do with Freemasonry because all those characters back in the founding of our country are Masons. Well, I'll tell you, you got to understand that Freemasonry didn't become corrupted by Adam Weishaupt and his Illuminati because it only began back in May 1st, 1977. Remember that, May 1st, when all of these illegal aliens, well, that's a whole other, oh, sorry, go ahead.
But the significance of the number 13 is, you'll note that Joseph had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Joseph was one of the original 12 brothers that formed the 12 tribes of Israel. What happens is you have a 13th tribe because the blessing given to Joseph is given to Ephraim and Manasseh ultimately would be the one who would, Ephraim would be the replacement for Joseph, and Manasseh would ultimately come on the end of the 12th brother and form the 13th tribe.
Quite right,
Therefore,
Dr. Dumore.
the significance of the number 13 within our heraldry.
And so now we're at a point where 1776, our Declaration of Independence was signed. 1789, 12 years later, the Constitution of the United States, recognizing those rights, endowed by the Creator. I'd like to leave you with one little thought here, because we have about 1 minute left. If you evolved from a rock, which if you trace evolution back all the way to that's where it came from, how do you have rights? And who gives them to you and who takes them away?
You're just a servant of the state. Just right here, folks. Don't tread on me is all I got to say, because I'm free and I'm free indeed under Jesus Christ.
Absolutely, and the truth shall set you free, but you got to seek it for yourself. You got to be willing to look for it. You got to be willing to accept it, whether it paints you in a good picture or not.
Food for thought, I tell you.
Absolutely is. So I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Don Dumore, for coming here. Willie, I want to thank
Buzzy,
you.
my brother of another mother.
I'd like to thank the staff of Nutmeg Television.
Absolutely.
And the crew here with us. You'll all see their names in the credits. Thank you and good night. Peace out.